What happens when a royal guest steps into a live talk show studio thinking the crown makes her untouchable, only to find herself face to face with a host who refuses to kneel? In less than a minute, one bold question will flip the tone from polite to explosive, and turn what should have been a friendly interview into one of the most unforgettable clashes ever caught on television. But before we dig into this fiery encounter, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on those notifications, because here we uncover the hidden moments the palace wishes stayed buried. We reveal what cameras didn't air, the tension, the attitude, and the fallout that rewrote royal media history. All right, buckle up. Let's step into that studio. The lights are blinding. The crowd is restless, whispering with anticipation. The cameras are rolling for one of the most watched morning talk shows in Britain. Behind the desk sits Piers Morgan, unflinching, confident, coffee steaming beside his notes. His plan is simple: talk about royal duties, charity, and life in the public eye. But what he doesn't know is that his next guest isn't here for an interview. She's here to prove a point. Then the doors open. Meghan Markle walks in like she's stepping onto a red carpet premiere instead of a news set. Every movement is deliberate. Heels clicking, chin high, smile perfectly measured. Yet behind that calm surface, there's something sharp in her gaze. A spark that says she's not here to play nice. The audience hushes. The air thickens. Even the crew goes quiet. Piers rises slightly, offering a courteous smile. "Welcome to the show, Meghan." "It's good to have you," she answers with a polite nod, voice smooth but distant. "Thank you for having me." Simple words, but the energy behind them? Ice cold. Within seconds, it's clear. This isn't going to be the usual morning chat. There's tension building just beneath the surface. The kind that can only end one way, with someone losing control. Piers leans forward, unaware he's about to step on a landmine. "So, Meghan," he begins lightly, "you've lived much of your life under public attention. How do you handle the constant spotlight?" A question that sounds harmless enough, but her smirk says otherwise. "Well, Piers," she replies, crossing one leg over the other, "I think the real issue isn't how I handle it. It's why the media feels so entitled to judge everything I do." The temperature drops instantly. The crowd shifts. The calm before the storm is over. For a moment, the studio freezes. You can almost hear the air conditioner hum between the beats of silence. Piers adjusts the papers in front of him, that trademark smirk barely holding. He's done this dance before, celebrities bristling at questions, but something about Meghan's tone feels different. It's not irritation. It's challenge. He keeps his voice steady. "Well," he says, "I think people are just curious. You're a public figure. It comes with the territory, doesn't it?" Her eyes narrow, the smile fading. "The territory?" she repeats, almost laughing. "You mean the part where every breath I take turns into a headline? The part where strangers pick apart my words like I owe them an explanation?" The audience shifts in their seats. It's not anger they hear in her voice. It's disdain. Piers leans back slightly, tone still measured. "I can imagine that's frustrating. But you did know what life under public scrutiny involved, right? I mean, joining the royal family isn't exactly joining a quiet club. That does it." Her posture stiffens, and for the first time the warmth in her voice is gone. "So you're saying I should just accept being lied about? That I should smile through the abuse because of who I married?" Her words slice through the air like broken glass. The audience gasps quietly. Cameras zoom in. Producers glance nervously at the control room monitor. This was supposed to be a soft segment about charity and family, not a televised showdown. Piers folds his hands, refusing to flinch. "No," he says calmly. "I'm saying public interest is part of public life. Many people deal with it, and some even manage it with grace." That single word, grace, lands like a slap. Meghan's smile vanishes completely. "Grace?" she snaps. "You want to talk about grace, Piers? Where was the grace when your papers mocked me for months? Where was the grace when I was compared to criminals just for existing?" Her voice rises, steady but fierce, echoing through the studio. Every sentence hits harder than the last. Piers doesn't look away. "I can't control what every journalist writes," he replies. "But if you're here to have an honest discussion, I'm listening." She laughs. But it's not humor. It's disbelief. "Honest discussion? Don't make me laugh. You don't want honesty, Piers. You want control. You want to twist every word so it fits your headline." The studio lights seem to burn hotter. You can almost feel the tension bouncing off the walls. Piers tilts his head, voice still even. "You think I'm trying to control the narrative?" "I know you are," she fires back. "That's what people like you do. People like you." 3 words that hang in the air, toxic and heavy. No one in the audience moves. No one breathes. The polite interview is over. The storm has officially begun. Piers leans forward now, elbows resting on the desk, eyes locked on her like a chess player studying his opponent. "People like me?" he asks, voice low but sharp. "You mean journalists? The ones who question public figures instead of worshipping them?" Meghan's jaw tightens. "I mean people who profit off tearing others down. People who think cruelty is commentary." A ripple moves through the crowd. You can sense the producers watching from behind the glass, whispering frantically into headsets. But neither Piers nor Meghan looks away. They're locked in now. Piers straightens his notes but doesn't break eye contact. "I'm paid to ask questions," he says. "To hold the public figures accountable. That's not cruelty, that's journalism." Her laugh is quick and cutting. "Accountable. Is that what you call it? Because from where I stand, it looks a lot like obsession." The words sting, but Piers doesn't react. He's been here before. Politicians, celebrities, athletes, all trying to turn the camera on him. But this time, it's personal. He chooses his next words carefully. "If I recall," he says evenly, "you've made plenty of public statements about your life, your struggles, your truth. When you speak publicly, you invite public response. That's not an attack. That's the exchange." Meghan shakes her head, disbelief on her face. "The exchange?" She repeats. "No, Piers, it's exploitation. You twist everything to fit your narrative, and when people call you out, you play the victim of your own headlines." The audience reacts with a low murmur. Some nod. Others glance at each other, unsure whose side they're even on anymore. Piers doesn't blink. "I report on what's said in the public domain. You want attention when it suits you, and privacy when it doesn't. That's not how this works." Her voice rises, sharper now, words tumbling out faster. "You don't get to decide how I live my life. You don't get to tell me when I can speak or when I should stay silent." The crowd gasps again. This isn't an interview anymore. It's an emotional crossfire. Piers, steady as ever, keeps his tone calm. "I'm not telling you how to live," he says. "I'm reminding you that public life comes with public conversation. Everyone gets talked about, and you're not the exception." Meghan's eyes flash. "Of course you'd say that. That's your excuse for treating people like stories instead of humans." And just like that, the last trace of politeness evaporates. Piers lowers his voice, but the edge is unmistakable. "I treat everyone the same," he says. "Titles don't earn immunity here." For the first time, Meghan seems caught off guard. There's a flicker, something between anger and disbelief, before she gathers herself again. "You think this makes you brave?" she says coldly. "Standing up to a woman on live TV? You're not fearless, Piers. You're just loud." A few gasps. A few uneasy laughs. Piers doesn't smile. "If asking questions is being loud," he says, "then maybe silence is your problem." The audience goes still. Both of them know it. There's no going back from here. The lights seem brighter now, almost blinding. Every camera's locked on them. Every breath, every flicker of expression, recorded. Meghan sits rigid in her chair, her hands clasped tightly on her lap. Piers, still composed, looks like a man who's done this 1,000 times. But behind that calm, there's a spark, the kind that ignites when pride meets provocation. She breaks the silence first. "You sit there," she says slowly, "pretending to ask fair questions, but everyone knows you came here to tear me down." Piers tilts his head slightly. Meghan, you're giving me too much credit. You walked in here with your guard up. I didn't create this tension. You brought it. Her eyebrows lift. I brought it? You mean by refusing to sit here and smile while you twist everything I say? The tension in the room thickens. A stagehand off camera looks like he's holding his breath. Piers gestures lightly with his pen. I'm giving you space to speak. But when I challenge your points, you call it an attack. That's not how honest dialogue works. She leans forward, voice sharper now. Honest dialogue? You don't know the meaning of the word. You've made a career off of judgment, not honesty. You hide behind free speech to justify cruelty. He doesn't flinch. And you hide behind victimhood to avoid accountability. That one lands. Hard. The crowd reacts instantly, a mix of gasps and muffled whispers. Meghan's face hardens, her jaw tightening as she stares him down. Victimhood? She repeats, her voice trembling with anger. You think I enjoy being targeted, humiliated, lied about? You have no idea what I've endured, Piers nods slightly. You're right. I don't know what it's like to be you, but I do know what it's like to face criticism. Everyone in the public eye does. The difference is how we respond to it, she scoffs, shaking her head. You talk like you're the moral compass of the world, like your opinions define truth. No, Piers says calmly, but I refuse to apologize for asking questions. You came here to talk. That's what we're doing. Meghan's breathing quickens. Her tone drops to a controlled whisper, the kind that carries more venom than shouting ever could. You're not asking questions. You're performing. You're trying to provoke me, and you're too proud to admit it. Piers folds his hands, his voice steady. If this is what provoked looks like, I'd hate to see what silence does to you. Her eyes flash. You think this is funny? No, he says softly. I think it's sad. And there it is. The trigger. Her composure cracks for the first time. The charm, the poise, the carefully measured tone, gone. You know what's sad? She snaps, watching a grown man hide behind his desk and call cruelty journalism. You sit there acting like a truth-teller, but you're just another bully with a microphone. The audience stirs, the tension unbearable now. Piers leans forward, unshaken. I'm not a bully, Meghan. I'm doing my job. And if the truth feels like an attack, maybe that says more about you than me. Silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that crushes the air out of a room. You can sense it. The shift. They've crossed the line from disagreement to personal war, and there's no turning back. The audience can feel it, the spark that's about to catch fire. Every eye in the studio is locked on them. The room is quiet, but it's not calm. It's that charged stillness that comes right before everything blows up. Meghan exhales sharply, breaking the silence. You're unbelievable, she mutters, shaking her head. You twist everything until you look like the hero. Piers doesn't blink. I don't need to be the hero, he says. I just don't let guests rewrite reality to suit themselves. That line hits her harder than he expected. She laughs, but it's not the kind you hear at charity galas or red carpets. It's short, bitter, full of disbelief. Reality? She says. You wouldn't know reality if it was printed on your cue cards. You make a living painting people as villains because it sells. Because outrage pays your bills, the crowd murmurs. The crew in the booth is frozen. No one dares cut to commercial. Piers leans back slightly, arms crossed, voice low and steady. I comment on what's public. You've shared more about your personal life than any royal before you. That's not on me, Meghan. That's your choice. She leans forward, her tone rising with every word. Don't you dare put this on me. You and your headlines created the chaos, then blamed me for reacting to it. Her voice echoes through the studio now. You can see her hands trembling. Not from fear, but fury. Piers stays silent for a few seconds, just watching her. Then, calmly, You sound angry. She laughs again, this time louder, more unhinged. Of course I'm angry. You sit there pretending to care about truth while you profit from my pain. You're no journalist, Piers. You're a parasite. A sharp gasp cuts through the audience. Even the cameramen glance at each other. That was it. The moment the interview tipped into chaos. Piers' expression doesn't change, but his tone hardens. "You're calling me a parasite on my own show?" "I'm calling you what you are," she snaps. "You feed on controversy because you have nothing else to offer." For the first time, his jaw tightens. The control that defined him all morning starts to slip. "I've interviewed world leaders and war survivors," he says. "People with real strength. You think you're the first person to face criticism? You act like you invented hardship." Her eyes flash. "Don't you dare minimize what I've been through." "I'm not," he fires back. "I'm saying strength isn't about complaining when people ask questions. It's about facing them." Her lips part, trembling with anger. "You're not asking questions, you're attacking me. I'm holding you accountable." The words clash mid-air, loud and raw. The studio feels smaller, hotter, like the oxygen's gone. The host and guest aren't talking anymore. They're fighting for dominance. She stands suddenly, her chair scraping the floor. "You know what? I don't have to sit here and take this." The audience gasps again. The producers panic. And Piers, still sitting, calm but unyielding, says only one thing. "Maybe you should, Meghan. Because for once, someone's not afraid to talk back. That's it. The line that breaks her completely." The studio feels like a ticking bomb. You can almost hear the tension pulsing through the floor. Meghan is on her feet, glaring down at Piers like she can't believe what she's hearing. Her voice trembles. Not with fear, but rage barely contained. "You think you can talk to me like that and get away with it?" Piers looks up slowly, calm but steel-eyed. "I think I can have a conversation without pretending you're untouchable." The crowd goes dead silent. Somewhere off to the side, a producer mouths, "Cut to break." But no one moves. No one breathes. This is TV gold, and everyone knows it. Meghan takes a step forward, her heels echoing on the studio floor. "This isn't a conversation," she snaps. "It's a trap. You invited me here to humiliate me." He raises an eyebrow. "You're doing that on your own." A few people in the audience gasp. Someone whispers, "Oh my God." The cameras stay locked on her, every twitch of her jaw, every flash of fury, caught in high definition. "You sit there," she spits, "pretending to be fair, pretending to be objective, when all you've done is tear me apart for years." Piers doesn't raise his voice. "I critique public behavior. You're a public figure. It's that simple." "It's not simple," she fires back. "You've crossed lines, dragged my name through the mud, and now you have the audacity to act like the victim." He finally stands, slow and deliberate, his chair rolling back with a faint scrape. The energy shifts instantly. He's not hiding behind the desk anymore. He's eye to eye with her. "I'm not a victim," he says quietly, "but I also don't tolerate guests who mistake accountability for cruelty." Meghan shakes her head, laughter bubbling up again. Wild, forced, desperate. "Accountability? You wouldn't know accountability if it punched you in the face. You don't ask questions. You interrogate. You humiliate. You enjoy it." He exhales, finally losing a fraction of his composure. "You know what I enjoy? Honesty. Something you seem allergic to. That does it." The last shred of restraint vanishes. "You're disgusting," she says, her voice cracking. "I came here in good faith." "You? No," he interrupts, tone like a blade. "You came here to play victim again. And when that didn't work, you turned it into an attack." Her jaw drops. The air in the studio turns thick. "You're a bully," she hisses. "You hide behind your platform and you think your arrogance is integrity. But you're just cruel, and I'm done pretending otherwise." She rips off the microphone cable from her outfit, the wire snapping free with a harsh tug. The audience gasps as she tosses it onto the chair. Piers doesn't move. He doesn't blink. "Then go," he says evenly. "If you can't handle a real conversation, you can leave my studio." Her voice rises one last time. "You'll regret this." He steps forward, tone cold and final. "I doubt it." She spins on her heel and storms off, her heels striking the floor like gunshots. The door slams behind her, echoing through the room. Silence. Pure, stunned silence. Then, faint applause. Nervous, scattered, uncertain, Piers straightens his papers, takes a sip of coffee, and looks back at the camera. "Well," he says with a faint smirk, "that was enlightening." The control room cuts to commercial, but everyone knows this moment will live forever. The moment the cameras fade to black, chaos explodes behind the scenes. Crew members are whispering, producers are shouting into headsets, and the control room is flooded with blinking lights and unanswered calls. But Piers Morgan, he's calm, almost too calm. He adjusts his tie, flips through his cue cards like nothing happened, and asks for another coffee. To him, it's just another interview, another storm weathered on live TV. The audience, though, is buzzing. Some look shocked. Some look thrilled. Everyone knows they've just watched something that'll dominate headlines for weeks. A woman in the second row whispers to her friend, "Did that really just happen?" Her friend just nods, still gripping her phone, already typing out a tweet. By the time the commercial break ends, social media is already melting down. Clips are flying across platforms. Hashtags trend worldwide within minutes. To Piers views Meghan. To talk show meltdown. To royal rage. Every second of that exchange, every glare, every word is being dissected, replayed, slowed down, and analyzed. Some call Piers a hero for standing his ground. Others say he crossed the line. And Meghan, her supporters rally to defend her, claiming she was provoked, ambushed, trapped. But one thing's certain, everyone's watching. Inside the studio, a producer finally breaks the silence. "You know this is going to be everywhere in 10 minutes, right?" Piers shrugs. "Then let them watch." He leans back in his chair, a faint smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. He's not gloating, he's steady, like a man who's seen enough battles to know this won't be the last. Meanwhile, somewhere outside, Meghan is already gone. She didn't wait for her car. She didn't wave to the cameras. She walked straight out of the building, ignoring everyone who tried to stop her. People rushed to get her reaction. No one gets a word. Just a glare and a slammed door. Within hours, clips of her exit are everywhere, her face red with fury, her tone cracking with disbelief. Headlines scream, "Meghan walks out on live show." Piers Morgan kicks royal guest off set. The interview that shook morning TV. The footage loops on every major network. Commentators weigh in. Former guests share stories. Viewers take sides like it's a national election. But amid all the noise, one thing cuts through. The way she looked right before leaving. Shocked. Like it never crossed her mind that someone would tell her no. For years, Meghan had owned every camera she faced. She knew how to command attention, how to craft an image, how to stay in control. But in that studio, under those lights, for the first time, control slipped away, and that's what people can't stop talking about. Not the argument. Not the words. But the look. That flicker of realization that status doesn't always win. Piers sits at his desk, the same desk where it all started, flipping through his notes like nothing happened. The next guest waits outside, nervous, probably wondering how to follow that act. He takes a sip of his coffee, looks at the camera, and says with a grin, "Let's try to keep things a bit calmer this time, shall we?" The audience laughs, awkward but relieved. The show moves on. But out there, online, in living rooms across the world, no one else has. This wasn't just an interview. It was a collision between entitlement and accountability, ego and endurance, silence and truth. And it's far from over. The next morning, you can't turn on a screen without seeing it. Clips of the interview loop non-stop. Piers' steady stare, Meghan's furious walkout, the door slam that echoed around the world. It's everywhere. News anchors call it the confrontation that redefined royal media. Commentators label it everything from a power clash to a public meltdown. For once, even the royal press offices stay quiet. No statements. No clarifications. Just silence. The kind that screams louder than words. Online, the debate is raging. One side hails Piers Morgan as the man who stood up to privilege, the host who refused to bend to fame or title. The other calls him cold, unprofessional, a bully hiding behind a suit. But beneath the noise, one truth rises. Something raw, real, and unscripted happened on live television, and people can't look away. Clips of Meghan's face, that flash of disbelief, the anger simmering under control, go viral. Memes, reaction videos, podcasts, think pieces. Everyone has an opinion, and every opinion turns into a headline. Meanwhile, ratings skyrocket. The episode breaks viewership records within 24 hours. Sponsors flood in. News outlets replay it frame by frame, narrating like it's a crime scene. For Piers, it's validation. He didn't set out to humiliate her. He set out to do what every journalist is supposed to do: ask the hard questions, even when it's uncomfortable. And he did. He stayed composed while she cracked under pressure. His team knows it too. Backstage, a producer leans over and whispers, "You just made broadcast history." Piers nods once, not smug, just certain. "She did that herself," he says quietly. But on Meghan's side, the story looks different. Sources close to her say she feels ambushed. Her friends post online, calling it a setup, saying she was baited into reacting. They paint her as the target of a cruel game. Still, not everyone's buying it. Because when the clip replays, and it replays everywhere, the world doesn't see a trap. They see two people in the same room, given the same stage, and only one of them losing control. By day 2, the talk shows and radio stations are dissecting every line. Publicists are calling it the moment the media stopped bowing. Some even suggest it marks a turning point, a reminder that fame doesn't mean immunity, and attitude doesn't equal authority. And through it all, Piers remains silent. No press conference, no social media tirade. He lets the footage speak for itself, because the truth doesn't need noise. It just needs time to sink in. That's what makes this moment linger. Not the argument, not the insults, but what it exposed: entitlement laid bare under studio lights, confidence collapsing under accountability. Some call it karma. Others call it television. Either way, it's unforgettable. When the dust settles and the headlines fade, what remains isn't just a viral clip. It's a lesson, raw, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore. Everyone saw it happen. A royal walked onto a talk show expecting reverence and instead met resistance. She thought she was walking into another spotlight, not a mirror. That's what threw her off. For the first time, someone didn't play along. Someone didn't soften the edges or polish the image. Piers didn't treat her like royalty. He treated her like everyone else. And that, more than the questions, broke the illusion. Because the truth is, power isn't about titles. It's about composure. And in that studio, one person kept theirs, and the other lost it in front of millions. It's a strange kind of irony. Meghan came in hoping to control the narrative, to show the world she was misunderstood. But when challenged, she proved exactly what critics had been saying, that she wanted attention on her own terms. Praise without pressure, visibility without scrutiny. Piers, on the other hand, showed something simpler: steadiness. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult her first. He just stood his ground when most hosts would have backed off. And that's what made the difference. The public saw it too. They didn't just see a host versus a guest. They saw a clash between two mindsets: accountability versus ego. One believing respect must be earned, the other assuming it's owed. It's easy to forget how fast things can change in front of a camera. One sentence, one reaction, one look, and suddenly perception becomes reality. That's what this interview captured. The exact second when confidence turned into arrogance and the audience saw the switch flip. And maybe that's why it hit so hard. Because it wasn't scripted. It wasn't polished. It was two people showing who they really were when the mask slipped. One revealing control, the other revealing pride. In the end, the lesson isn't about royalty or journalism. It's about what happens when entitlement meets someone unwilling to bow. The studio became a battleground, not for power, but for perspective. And that's what people will remember. Not the words, not the walkout, but the moment the Crown met confrontation and lost. Weeks later, the shock still hasn't worn off. Clips of that interview circulate like legend, replayed in classrooms, dissected in newsrooms, whispered about in palace corridors. The headlines have slowed, but the memory hasn't faded. Every time the footage resurfaces, people feel that same tension, that same disbelief, watching two worlds collide on live television. For Piers Morgan, it becomes the moment that defines his brand of journalism. Unapologetic, confrontational, fearless. He didn't just challenge a royal, he reminded viewers that fame doesn't place anyone above question. And whether people loved or hated him for it, one thing was certain. He didn't flinch. For Meghan, it's different. The walkout becomes symbolic, replayed as both defiance and defeat. To her supporters, it's proof she stood up to unfair treatment. To her critics, it's proof she couldn't face hard truths. Either way, the footage speaks louder than any PR statement ever could. The real legacy, though, belongs to the audience. The millions who saw something real in an age of rehearsed perfection. No filters, no handlers, no scripts, just raw emotion, unguarded reactions, and a moment of truth neither side could control. That's why the clip endures, because it isn't just entertainment. It's a reminder that titles don't shield you from criticism, that status doesn't earn respect, behavior does. That strength isn't in walking out, but in staying seated when things get uncomfortable. Years from now, people won't quote the lines. They'll remember the looks, her disbelief, his composure, the silence that said more than words ever could. They'll remember how quickly the conversation turned, how the calm shattered into confrontation, how grace turned to fury, and they'll remember that moment, the one frozen in time when the crown slipped. Not from a head, but from an attitude. Because that's the real story. Not the argument. Not the fallout. But the truth underneath it all. When confidence meets arrogance, when honesty meets ego, and when someone finally refuses to be intimidated by a title, the result isn't just television. It's history.